Joining us right here in the studio, Anders Aslund, Senior Fellow at the Peterson Institute. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
This cannot be good for the economy in Ukraine.
No. But you can also say that this is a big hit. It could lead to fundamental reform. The big problem in Ukraine is corruption, and this could put an end or mitigate corruption substantially in the Ukraine. So for this year, the GDP will certainly fall. We can't even guess how many percent, but a few percent.
A lot of people are speculating as to the losing of Crimea and how that's going to impact the country. Now, my understanding is Ukraine has already filed a motion in international courts over the loss of Crimea and I suppose the loss of the revenue that they would have had with Crimea. Does this have legs?
Well, of course, no country accepts losing territory on no legal grounds whatsoever without any international agreement. So this will be like the Baltic countries losing their independence. The United States and Britain never recognized that. So this will not go away.
Russia has raised gas prices on Ukraine now, a couple of times, in fact. That isn't good for the economy as well, but I suppose the more important question is what's going to be a reaction be from Ukraine? How are they going to mitigate this?
Well, you know, Russia looks very strange here. They didn't know what price they would charge to Ukraine for gas until the 1st of April, and this is the dominant export commodity from Russia to Ukraine. And then they suddenly raised the price by 50%. And then 3 days later, they increased it by 30%. This is not serious. This is straightforward political pricing. So the price Ukraine is now supposed to pay is 1/3 higher than what Germany pays. So I think that the Ukrainian government will just take it to arbitration court, which would be in Stockholm, and say, what are you up to?
These recent protests, the occupation of public buildings, this is all within the last 48 hours or so. And there was a period of semi-calm, I suppose, but that's picked up once again. Your analysis as to what could happen next?
Well, the interesting thing is that we heard 1 week ago from intelligence here in Washington that the 6th of April was when the Russian subversive elements were ordered to attack, and they did attack. So Washington had this information several days in advance. And of course, the Ukrainians had it also. So the point is, this was a Russian-led action, and it was very small. It was 50 to 200 people in each of these 3 towns that actually used violence. And then you had a broader action of 2,000 people. That's not serious. So it was more violent than popular.
But I will say that it's making the headlines. I mean, at least in the international media world, I mean, they're getting the attention. They're occupying the buildings, even though it's a minority at this time. They're making a very big statement. What is the statement, and what is it that they ultimately want, these protesters?
Well, your question suggests the answer. It's sort of laziness on Moscow. Moscow is used that all the foreign journalists sit in Moscow and hardly any in Kiev. So that Moscow, however crudely, can describe the situation, but there's no good story.
The impact on the other countries, Ukraine's neighbors, some of them they're quite friendly with and some they're not. But ultimately, if countries and companies, I should add, are fearful for coming into Ukraine to doing any long-term projects until this settles down, have you heard from your sources and the experts that you speak to as perhaps the longer-term impact this is now going to have?
I think that 2 points are particularly interesting here. All of the countries around Russia, whatever relations they had before, are now starting cooperating closely. And the other point is that 1 week ago, President Nazarbayev in Kazakhstan sacked his government and moved to a government that was stronger on economic security. So everybody around Russia is afraid. So Russia has now adopted the feature of being an unpredictable and dangerous power, and that cannot be good for Russia or the Russian economy.
Right, certainly a developing story. I want to thank you for your insights. Anders Aslund, Senior Fellow at the Peterson Institute, for your insights on this. Thank you very much.